Practicing slowly. Everybody should do it, nobody does. Hi, my name is Alex Poole and I'm a musician and composer. And I know I'm not breaking any new ground with this idea. Anybody who's ever learned an instrument or studied music at all knows that practicing slowly is a pretty good idea. But then why doesn't anybody do it? I've got a couple of reasons why I think I don't practice slowly. Number one, it's boring. Practicing things, especially things that should be fast, slowly, is kind of boring. It's not as immediately fun or as rewarding. Number two, it's not musical. Playing something so slow that it's notes instead of music also isn't super fun. Number three, it feels almost embarrassing in a way. If I can't play through at least a couple bars of something after 2-3 tries, I usually don't practice it anymore. I feel like I'm not at the level of that piece, or I'm not, technically proficient enough to play it. Those are my main thoughts of why I don't practice slowly. But I also wanted to ask some colleagues and mentors what they thought about it.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you the question again because I forgot to record the audio. That was a great answer though. I love that.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm a pianist and a composer.
How often do you intentionally practice slowly? So I don't think I'm counting like when you're learning the piece for the first time, going through the notes, but how many times you sit down and just think, I'm going to practice this thing that I'm pretty comfortable with, like very slowly.
Oh, you see, that's the good question. I usually end up playing pieces uncomfortable at the usual tempo. But if I ever notice that I have like an issue or with connecting different transitions together or just getting the technique wrong, I have to slow it down and practice.
Hi, my name is James Vivian. I'm a manager here at the Music Academy Crossroads, musician, educator, and all-around fun guy. It's funny that you ask a question about how often do I deliberately practice a song or a piece slowly. Generally, I practice it at tempo starting off. It's a horrible habit. And today I just started lessons, and the first thing that we did was slowed everything that I was doing down and really got into the nitty-gritty of it.
Okay, so nobody likes to practice slowly. Then should we? I've been doing a lot of academic research on the topic, and it turns out there are actually a lot of really good benefits to practicing slowly. Number one, you will learn pieces more correctly. Going through a piece slowly, succinctly, gets you familiar with the notes and builds a solid base for the piece.
I have a great teacher that I'm taking with now, professional musician, and the first thing that he did was we slowed things down and made sure that we worked on tone and technique of being able to play it slowly, consistently, deliberately. Then we took it up. It paid off dividends right away. I could hear exactly what I was supposed to do, and I had time to think about and rationalize what I was playing.
Practicing slowly also isn't as physically strenuous. I'm focusing on piano for this video, and I found that during faster passages, my arms and wrists can get sort of tense even after just a few minutes if I'm not careful. So hopefully that won't happen this week.
So, slow practice is really good for memorization and coordination, especially whenever you are learning a bunch of tricky passages. It's especially important to slow everything down to the point where your brain can actually process what's happening in real time. I have to mentally go, okay, I'm playing these sounds, but at the same time, I'm moving my hand here to this chord or these extra notes here.
One reason that I'm really excited about is clearer understanding of the harmony of a piece. A lot of the time when I sit down to practice, I just focus on the notes and the rhythms instead of actually hearing the music that's happening. And I think that'll give me a really fun perspective on what I'm learning.
I'm a huge fan of slow practicing. Things that I think about when I slow practice is, first of all, just seeing where my fingers lay on my instrument, making sure that I'm not doing anything old, like giant movements on my saxophone. Also, intonation. Like, it's a great time for me to work on intonation and listening in and seeing how I'm playing notes, how I'm articulating notes, like really making sure that I'm hitting the note square on the head and then staying with it, the full duration of the note.
And number four, I think that learning a piece slowly will ironically help you learn it faster. The more you focus on that base of the piece, the quicker you can memorize both with your hands and your mind exactly what you're doing.
And for memorization, Slow practice is helpful in building good habits because essentially practice is habit building. And whenever you are putting in the correct repetitions, over time it becomes easier for your brain to go through those actions without really thinking about it, much easier and much more efficiently and more quickly.
I want to incorporate slow practice into my routine to see if I can make it feel more meaningful than just slowing down notes and rhythms. So for this week, anytime I practice, I will be practicing slowly. I'm usually at the piano for 2 to 3 hours a day, and I think it'll feel a lot longer this week. But hopefully it'll be worth it. I also want to make this video more as a personal account of how implementing slow practice is affecting me personally instead of a educational, this is how to slow practice video. I want this to be my account of what I feel is happening during this week. For this week, I've chosen to focus on 4 pieces that range in comfort for me. 2 Bach inventions that I've learned and I'm very familiar with, Bach's Prelude in D minor, which I've been learning on and off for a while, but I'm not totally comfortable with, and Liszt's Consolation No. 3, which I've never tried to learn before. Each of these pieces are in a different stage of development, and I want to see how implementing slow practice feels on all 3 levels. Alright, so I just finished my first day of trying to solely practice slowly, and it actually felt really good. One thing I didn't expect about this challenge was just how accomplished I'd feel after even just little things. Even if you're only playing at a quarter of the speed, getting through a whole piece with barely any mistakes still feels really good. I've also really enjoyed the harmony aspect of this challenge. There's a great video by Josh Wright about practicing slowly where he talks about focusing more on being musical and really hearing that harmony instead of getting notes and rhythms right. In his video, he uses Bach's Prelude in D minor, so that inspired me to use it in my practice routine for this week. Today was a pretty short practice day. I was only able to be at the piano for about an hour, so I decided to focus on the 2 newer pieces, the Prelude in D minor and the Consolation No. 3, because I think they're benefiting the most from this newer practice. The Consolation, I'm still in a note learning phase, but I'm getting a really solid bass because I'm not going any faster than really slow. And then the harmonies are really nice in the Prelude, so that's good. Once I get the notes in my hands for both pieces, I can really hear that harmony. And you know, you're always told to listen to the music, but I feel like I'm almost experiencing it as it happens when I'm practicing really slow, which is really exciting. The first 2 days of my practice were going really well. I could feel a lot of improvement and I was generally enjoying what I was doing. But on the 3rd day, tragedy struck. I'm gonna be honest, today was a short practice day because I really didn't feel like practicing. Going through everything slowly, over and over, all the pieces are starting to feel stale. Even the Prelude with the rich harmonies, it's just feeling very weighted. I'm feeling myself wanting to speed up and generally just not enjoying my practice, which isn't a great place to be in if you want to keep a consistent practice schedule. So I decided to try to work on some other pieces that I know and practice those slowly, and that helped for a little bit, but I still felt that general feeling of not wanting to be practicing. So that's about it. I got about 60, maybe 80 minutes today, and then I just stopped because I didn't want to practice anymore. Alright, so today, day 4, I decided to hunker down and just focus on the 4 pieces that I came into the challenge with. I wanted to work through not wanting to practice, not feeling fulfilled with my practice, and just see how far I could get. I practiced for about 2 hours and then I stopped again. But I feel like I'm making a lot of progress, specifically with the consolation. That's coming along really well. So far, the newer the piece, the more practicing slowly has helped, but that may also be because I have a lot of muscle memory issues with the older pieces. Alright, so today is my last day with my slow practice schedule, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited about it. I did get a good 2 hours in today, and I worked on the 4 pieces that I set out to work on at the beginning of the week. I also spent most of the day with a metronome to make sure I was keeping my practice slow. So in conclusion, practicing slowly was beneficial, but tiring. I couldn't help myself on the last day and decided to practice all the pieces at tempo just to see how much more comfortable I had gotten with them. I found that I not only played every piece more accurately than I thought, but a lot more musical also. My hands just knew where to go and I could hear every note before I played it. It was kind of crazy. Even though it was tiring and not the most fun week of practice I've had, I'm really glad I tried this experiment, and I definitely plan to include slow practice more regularly into my schedule. I think what really hindered my progress this week was how stale practicing slowly could get if that's all you're doing. I found myself not wanting to be at the piano for very long and cutting my practice short because of it. I think adding slow practice into my weekly routine but not focusing solely on that will yield better results. So that's it. If you have a different experience with slow practice, or you think you have a different technique that I should try in my practice routine, let me know. You can also subscribe to this channel to know when I post my next video. Thanks for watching.